Adjudicators, audience members, and fellow change-bringers, I would like to begin by quoting a passage from Euripides' Medea. Streams of the sacred river flow uphill. Tradition, order, all things are reversed. A time comes when the female sex is honored. That old discordant slander shall no more hold us subject. This play, written 2,400 years ago, contains a narrative of female empowerment that shows astounding insight for its time. The prophecy revealed in those words has been spoken thousands of times over thousands of years in thousands of different forms, all through women who have thrown off the shackles of patriarchy and expressed their sacred and equal form. But only now, that dream has the potential to become reality. We stand on the horizon of change, or so I hope. Global goal number 5, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. A small statement for the vastness of its brilliance and for what it really means. I truly believe that it is the most important goal for long-term development. For unity of all sorts is essential for the universal progress of humanity. We can never leave anybody behind. Only on equal footing, on equal eyes, can we transform our world through sustainable development. The path to equality and empowerment is a long one, fraught with bias, tradition, and suppression. I believe the first key to achieving it is through knowledge and education. Today, people under 30 make up over 50% of the Earth's population, over 3.5 billion people, the largest amount of youth the world has ever seen. Through educational reform and empowerment of young girls, we can help propel them to the heights and realize the dream. To quote Malala Yousafzai, if we want to achieve our goal, then let us empower ourselves with the weapon of knowledge, and let us shield ourselves with unity and togetherness. One book, one pen, one child, and one teacher can change the world. Education must include entrepreneurial thinking, critical thought, and funding for essential materials. Sex education and its power cannot be understated. Progress beckons. Gender parity in primary level is nearly achieved, but this is only the beginning. We must include the voice of youth in this global shift and educate young boys too, in order to defeat the brooding attitudes of inequality. This is a societal issue, and the future of society is decided in our classrooms. As well as the liberation of women in society, change must pervade everywhere, reaching into the hearts and homes of every single human on Earth. And this comes to a main issue: violence. Violence against women is widespread. 37 countries exempt rape perpetrators from prosecution if they are married to or subsequently marry the victim. 37. As a man, this shames me immensely, but this is reality for millions. 47% of murdered females were killed by a partner or family member. For men, only 6%. The fact that millions of women live in fear with a man or woman they should love and should be loved by, here is the evil we must destroy, where we can sow seeds of hope. Everyone should be able to report abuse, and we must ensure facilities are in place for this. It's a basic need. In relationships and sexuality, progress is apparent. Female genital mutilation practices have decreased by 30% in recent decades. We aim for 100%. Child marriage and forced union too is in decline, but still nonetheless at unacceptable levels. The attitudes towards women and sexuality must be changed for long-term development. With the liberation of sexuality comes the liberation of society. The denial of equal sexual standards and attitudes to child-rearing is abhorrent. Millions of women do not have access to contraception. 220 million women worldwide were unable to access contraception in 2012. This speech is not only for those in developing countries, but for those whose hearts and voices and souls are woven into this hall, this earth, and this country. This is for Anne Lovett, 15 years old, who fell pregnant in 1984, was refused aid, full of shame, driven by religious dogma. She and her newborn son died alone beneath a statue of the Virgin Mary. This is for Joanne Hayes, who was demonized and discriminated by our state. 34 years later, she received her apology. 34 years too late? Our state has a very troubled history with bodily autonomy. We can change that. To overcome inequality, we must address society. Dig out the roots rather than cut off a branch. Focus on wider underlying issues of sexism and discrimination. We can all combat this. We must engage with different ethnic leaders and different groups. Casual sexism in societies such as ours must be stopped. It's a simple fact. The fact that the leader of the free world told a contestant on the show, The Apprentice, that she'd make a good wife, I know, right? It's something we can't accept. We will rage against such ignorance. Hope will, hope must prevail. Or what else can we live for? Equality in the workforce is an essential realization of the dream. The EU has recognized that gender equality in the labor force is essential for economic growth, and fair treatment of mothers, workers, and indeed fathers of all ethnic groups is absolutely essential. The proportion of men in the labor force still outstrips women who do much larger amounts of work at home, and this is not appreciated. As well as in labor, we must ensure that men and women are equal in matters of state, the very base on which our society lies. But a boardroom full of men discussing what a woman can and cannot do with her body is an altogether too familiar sight. I'll say no more on that front. We now live in a world where the definition of woman holds many shades of color, each as beautiful as the next. I always will respect the keystone part that the LGBT plus community had to play in the fight for equality, from Stonewall to suffrage. The global goals and Goal 5 are the realized dream of humanity. The empowerment of women and girls is in our sights, and it is the prerequisite for the realization of all subsequent global goals. To finish, I quote from the lyrics of Sappho, a Greek poet known as a symbol of love between women, who recognized the power of a single voice. May I write words more naked than flesh, stronger than bone, more resilient than sinew, sensitive than nerve. Although only breath, words which I command are immortal. Thank you.